function. At Letomini, at Letomini, at Letomini.
Probably some friend that knew him better would have advised me not to rely on him, as I afterwards heard it was his known character to be liberal of promises which he never meant to keep. Yet, unsolicited as he was by me, how could I think his generous offer insincere? I believed him one of the best men of the world. I presented him an inventory of a little print house amounting to my computing to about 100 pounds sterling. He liked it, but asked me if my being on the spot in England to choose the types and see that everything was good of the kind might not be of some advantage. Then says he, when there you may make acquaintances and establish correspondence in the bookselling and stationery way. I agreed that this might be advantageous. Then says he, get yourself ready to go with Annis, which was the annual ship and the only one at that time, usually passing between London and Philadelphia. But it would be some months before Annis sailed, so I continued working with Keimer, fretting about the money Collins had got from me, and in daily apprehension of being called upon by Vernon, which, however, did not happen for some years after. I believe I have omitted mentioning that in my first voyage from Boston, being becalmed off Block Island, our people set about catching cod and hauled up a great many. Hitherto I had stuck to my resolution of not eating animal food, and on this occasion I considered it with my master Tyrone the taking every fish as a kind of unprovoked murder, since none of them had or ever could do us any injury that might justify the slaughter. All this seemed to be reasonable, but I had formerly been a great lover of fish, and when this came hot out of the frying pan, it smelt admirably well. I balanced some time between principle and inclination, till I reckoned that, when the fish were opened, I saw smaller fish taken out of their stomachs. Then thought I, if you eat one another, I don't see why we mayn't eat you. So I dined upon cod very heartily, and continued to eat with other people, returning now only and then occasionally to a vegetable diet.
At work, so going to another work.
Thing is it to be a reasonable creature, since it enables one to find or make a reason for everything one has a mind to do. End of chapter 4. The Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, Chapter 5.
This is what you got to do.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin.
Dang it, that hurts.
Edited by Frank Woodworth Pine. Chapter 5. Early Friends in Philadelphia. Keimer and I lived on a pretty good familiar footing, and agreed tolerably well, for he suspected nothing of my setting up. He retained a great deal of his old enthusiasms and loved argumentation. We, therefore, had many disputations. I used to work him so with my sympathetic method, and I had tripped him so often by questions apparently
I gotta trim
so
it.
distant from any point he had
I have to trim my beard.
and yet by
I don't have a
led to the point and brought him into difficulties.
I don't know, my wife probably hid my thing.
Then at last he grew ridiculously cautious and would hardly answer me the most common question without asking first, what do you intend to make from that? However, it gave him so high an opinion of my abilities in the computing way that he seriously proposed my being his colleague in the project he had of setting up a new sect. He was to preach the doctrines, and I was to confound all opponents. When he came to explain with me upon the doctrines, I found several conundrums which I objected to, unless I might have my way a little too, and introduce some of mine. Keimer wore his beard at full length because somewhere in the Mosaic law it is said, "Thou shalt not mar the corners of thy beard." He likewise kept the seventh-day Sabbath, and these 2 points were essential to him. I disliked both.
Thanks. So you're on YouTube Live.
Okay.
That's cozy.
That sounds cozy too.
Yeah. They gave me 2 bottles of homemade wine. Thanks. So
Oh boy.
they're both good. Yeah, they've been making wine for 40 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and their place has a name too.
Which is
Rocky Top.
Rocky Top.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Not as cool as the Old Shoe. That's a good name, isn't it? Thanks, so. I said thanks, though.
Thanks, though.
Thanks, so.
Thanks, so.
Thanks, so.
Thanks, though.
Thanks, so. Babe, I hate all the statuses or social media posts where like, if you voted for Trump, just delete me. It just doesn't get us anywhere. You know what I mean? Oh my God, those gutters are disgusting.
Hey, what time are you coming home?
Well, I got a 4:45 now. Well, it's a 3 o'clock, but I won't be there till 4:45. But I called them already and told them that I won't be there till 4:45.
Local?
Is Oak Grove local?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So 5. So I might be home by 8:30.
Okay.
Or if it goes really well, probably not till 9.
Y'all go to the gym afterwards?
Yeah, we can do that. Thanks, though. Thanks, though. Thanks, though. Thanks, though. My B Funksy says Harry Pothead. Someone else says I love Palestina. Might be Funksy.
All right.
What? No. Where are you going?
Away because you're on live.
No. Okay. Let me. Why'd you text me about the transfer? Were we expecting it by now?
Last night. But she said that she's just on her way to the bank, so I think she's transferring it when she gets there.
Whatever happened to good old-fashioned Venmo? Free Palestine.
Well, I'm skeptical of Venmo.
What? Oh, yeah. I think I remember her saying something to that effect. Right? Thanks, though.
Yeah, she told me that we've charged a whole bunch of stuff to her card.
We have?
And I was like, I don't think we have, but I'll look.
You and I? Like on Amazon or what?
Apparently.
What was it?
I don't know. I have to go back and look and double check it.
Are you suggesting that the amount would have been greater than 2 if she hadn't factored whatever that is in?
I don't think she did factor it in. I just told her I'd double check her and pay her back for whatever I spent.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we better figure that out.
Yeah.
Thanks, though. Well, let's be very grateful for the money. know?
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think it would take to make a video of me plucking my beard hairs out one by one, the entire thing?
Probably a lot less time than it'd take for me to file a divorce.
No, you wouldn't do that. Thanks, though. Thanks, though.
Alright.
No. Are you eating lunch or what?
Mm-hmm. I'll leave a few more minutes.
What time did you come to bed last night? Was I asleep?
Mm-hmm.
I was just
Yeah,
like,
you woke up though.
oh, I know what I say.
The same thing you usually say.
What's that? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. Do I always say that?
Yeah.
No, I don't. Is it because you're just so cozy? Thanks, though. Yeah, do you like it when I say that? You say that. It's cozy. Oh, I guess the fire danger is low today. So that's good, right? Right? Is that good? Okay, here's the thing. I need to trim my beard.
Okay, I'll do it tonight.
All right, are you sure?
Yeah.
I thought we were working out tonight. Thanks, though.
We can, in fact, do more than one thing a night.
Thanks, though.
See, like, that's the thing of it.
That's the thing of it. What time are you off work?
6.
Thanks, though. Thanks, though. Thanks, though.
Funny story.
Heading to Oak Grove,
actually.
Missouri. What's the funny story?
I was supposed to be at work. I was supposed to be at work at 9 o'clock today.
You were supposed to have been at work at 9 o'clock?
At 9 o'clock.
I was supposed to have been at work.
Okay, I gotta get going.
No. What time did you show up at work?
10:30.
Uh-oh.
I texted him and told him I thought I was closing and that I'm sorry I was late.
Babe, I'm supposed to use a number 3 clipper for a month. Then I will have an amazing beard.
Okay.
Thanks, so. I said thanks, though. Heading to Oak Grove, Missouri. I said, come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Alright, talk to you later.
Alright, you gonna miss me?
Alright, bye.
Alright, love you. Bye.
And these 2 points were essential to him. I disliked both, but agreed to admit them upon condition of his adopting the doctrine of using no animal food. I doubt, said he, my constitution will not bear that. I assured him it would, and that he would be better for it. He was usually a great glutton, and I promised myself some diversion in half starving him. He agreed to try the practice, if I would keep him company. I did so, and we held it for 3 months. We had our victuals dressed and brought to us regularly by a woman in the neighborhood who had from me a list of 40 dishes to be prepared for us at different times, in all which there were neither fish, flesh, nor fowl. The whim suited me the better at this time from the cheapness of it, not costing us above 18 pence sterling each week. I have since kept several Lents most strictly, leaving the common diet for that, and that for the common, abrupt without the least opinion, so that I think there is little in the advice of making those changes by easy gradations. I went on pleasantly, but poor Keemer suffered grievously, tired of the project, longed for the flesh pots of Egypt, and ordered a roast pig. He invited me and 2 women friends to dine with him, but it being brought too soon upon table, he could not resist the temptation, and ate the whole before we came. I made some courtship during this time to Miss Reed. I had a great respect and affection for her, and had some reason to believe she had the same for me. But as I was about to take a long voyage, and we were both very young, only a little above 18, it was thought most prudent by her mother to prevent our going too far at present, as a marriage, if it was to take place, would be more convenient after my return, when I should be, as I expected, set up in my business. Perhaps, too, she thought my expectations not so well founded as I imagined them to be. My chief acquaintances at this time were Charles Osborne, Joseph Watson, and James Ralph, all lovers of reading. The 2 first were clerks in an eminent scrivener or conveyancer in the town, Charles Brockton. The other was clerk to a merchant. Watson was a pious, sensible young man of great integrity. The others rather more lax in their principles of religion, particularly Ralph, who, as well as Collins, had been unsettled by me, for which they both made me suffer. Osborne was sensible, candid, frank, sincere, and affectionate to his friends, but in literary matters too fond of criticizing.
Voice of Village.
Ralph was ingenious, genteel in his manners, and extremely eloquent. I think I never knew a prettier talker. Both of them were great admirers of poetry, and began to try their hands in little pieces. Many pleasant walks we four had together on Sundays into the woods near Schuylkill, where we read to one another and conferred on what we read. Ralph was inclined to pursue the study of poetry, not doubting but he might become eminent in it and make his fortune by it, alleging that the best poets must, when they first begin to write, make as many faults.
There's an ambulance, frickin' A.
Osborne dissuaded him.
Alright, I'm not pulling over till this frickin' semi pulls over.
And advised him to think of nothing beyond the business.
There's an ambulance coming.
That, in the mercantile way, though he had no stock, he might, by his diligence and punctuality, recommend himself to employment as a factor, and in time acquire wherewith to trade on his own account. I approved the amusing one's self with poetry now and then, so far as to improve one's language, but no farther. On this it was proposed that we should each of us, at our next meeting, produce a piece of our own composing, in order to improve by our mutual observations, criticisms, and corrections. As language and expression were what we had in view, we excluded all considerations of invention by agreeing that the task should be a version of the 18th Psalm, which describes the descent of a deity. When the time of our meeting drew nigh, Ralph called on me first and let me know his piece was ready. I told him I had been busy and, having little inclination, had done nothing. He then showed me his piece for my opinion, and I much approved it, as it appeared to me to have great merit. Now, says he, Osborne never will allow the least merit in anything of mine, but makes 1,000 criticisms out of mere envy. He is not so jealous of you. I wish, therefore, you would take this piece and produce it as yours. I will pretend not to have had time, and so produce nothing. We shall then see what he will say to it. It was agreed, and I immediately transcribed it, that it might appear to be in my own hand. We met. Watson's performance was read. There was some beauties in it, but many defects. Osborne's was red. It was much better. Ralph did it justice, remarked some faults, but applauded the beauties. He himself had nothing to produce. I was backward, seemed desirous of being excused, and had not sufficient time to correct, etc. But no excuse could be admitted. Produce I must. I was read and repeated. Watson and Osborne gave up the contest and joined in applauding it. Ralph only made some criticism and proposed some amendments, but I defended my text. Osborne was against Ralph and told him he was no better a critic than poet, so he dropped the argument. As they two went home together, Osborne expressed himself still more strongly in favor of what he thought my production. Having restrained himself before, as he said, least I should think it flattering. But who would have imagined, said he, that Franklin had been capable of such a performance, such panting, such force, such fire? He has even improved the original. In his common conversation, he seems to have no choice of words. He hesitates and blunders, and yet, good God, how he writes. When we next met, Ralph discovered the trick we had played on him, and Osborne was a little laughed at. This transaction fixed Ralph in his resolution of becoming a poet. I did all that I could to dissuade him from it, but continued scribbling verses till Pope cured him. In footnote. In one of the later editions of the Uncanade occur the following lines. Silence ye wolves, where Ralph to Cynthia howls, and makes night hideous, answer him ye owls. To this the poet adds the following note. James Ralph, a name inserted after the first editions, not known until he writ a swearing piece called Sweeney, very abusive of Dr. Swift, Mr. Gay, and myself.
You know what tradesmen usually had?
He became,
Fingers and fingernails.
Prose writer.
That's what I'm using.
More of him hereafter.
Fingers and fingernails.
But as I may not have occasion again to mention the other two, I shall just remark here that Watson died in my arms a few years after, much lamented being the best of our set. Osborne went to the West Indies, where he became an eminent lawyer and made money, but died young. He and I made a serious agreement that the one who happened first to die should, if possible, make a friendly visit to the other and acquaint him of how he found things in that separate state. But he never fulfilled his promise. End of chapter 5. The Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, Chapter 6. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, Chapter 6. The first visit to London. The governor, seeming to like my company, had me frequently to his house, and his setting me up always mentioned as a fixed thing. I was to take with me letters recommendatory to a number of his friends, besides the letter of credit, to furnish me with the necessary money for purchasing the present types, paper, etc. For these letters I was appointed to call at different times when they were to be ready, but a future time was still named. Thus it went on till the ship, whose departure too had been several times postponed, was on the point of sailing. Then, when
Best compliment I've received in the last 10 minutes.
The letters, his secretary, Dr. Bard,
Non-binary Zach Galen's
the governor was extremely busy in writing, but would be down at Newcastle before the ship, and there the letters would be delivered to me. Ralph, though married and having one child, had determined to accompany me in this voyage. It was thought he intended to establish a correspondence and obtain goods to sell on commission, but I found afterward that, through some discontent with his wife's relations, he proposed to leave her on their hands and never return again. Having taken leave of my friends and interchanged some promises with Miss Reed, I left Philadelphia in the ship which anchored at Newcastle. The governor was there. When I went to his lodgings, the secretary came to me from him with the civilest message in the world that he could not then see me, being engaged in business of the utmost importance, but should send the letters to me on board and wish me heartily a good voyage and a speedy return, etc. I returned on board a little puzzled, but still not doubting. Mr. Andrew Hamilton, a famous lawyer of Philadelphia, had taken passage in the same ship for himself and son, and with Mr. Denham, a Quaker merchant, and Messrs. Ryan and Russell, masters of an ironwork in Maryland, had engaged the great cabin, so that Ralph and I were forced to take up with a berth in the steerage, and none on board knowing us were considered as ordinary persons. But Mr. Hamilton and his son, it was James, since governor, returned from Newcastle to Philadelphia, the father being recalled by a great fee to plead for a seized ship, and just before we sailed, Colonel French coming on board and showing me great respect, I was more taken notice of, and with my friend Ralph, invited by other gentlemen to come into the cabin, there being now room. Accordingly, we removed thither. Understanding that Colonel French had brought on board the governor's dispatches, I asked the captain for those letters that were to be under my care. He said all were put in the bag together, and he could not then come at them, but before we landed in England I should have an opportunity of picking them out. So I was satisfied for the present, and we proceeded on our voyage. We had a sociable company in the cabin, and lived uncommonly well, having the addition of all Mr. Hamilton's stores, who had laid in plentifully. In this passage Mr. Denham contracted a friendship from me that continued during his life. The voyage was otherwise not a pleasant one, as we had a great deal of bad. The channel, the captain kept his word with me, and gave me an opportunity of examining the bag for the governor's letters. I found none upon which my name was put, as under my 7, that by the handwriting I thought might be the promised letters, especially as one of them was directed to Basket, the king's printer, and another to some stationer. We arrived in London the 24th of December, 1724. I waited upon the stationer, who came first in my way, delivering the letter as from Governor Keith. I don't know such a person, says he, but opening the letter, "Oh, this is from Riddleston, then. I have lately found him to be a complete rascal, and I will have nothing to do with him, nor receive any letters from him." So, putting the letter into my hands, he turned on his heel and left me to serve some customer. I was surprised to find that these were not the governor's letters, and after recollecting and comparing circumstances, I began to doubt his sincerity. I found my friend Denham, and opened the whole affair to him. He let me into Keith's character, told me there was not in the least probability that he had written any letters for me, that no one who knew him had the smallest dependence on him, and he laughed at the notion of the governor's giving me a letter of credit, having, he said, no credit to give. On my expressing some concern about what I should do, he advised me to endeavor getting some employment in the way of my business among the printers here, said he. You will improve yourself, and when you return to America, you will set up to greater advantage. We both of us happened to know, as well as the stationer, that Riddleston, then, the attorney, was a very knave. He had half ruined Miss Reed's father by persuading him to be bound for him. By this letter, it appeared there was a secret scheme on foot to the prejudice of Hamilton, supposed to be then coming over with us, and that Keith was concerned in it with Riddleston then. Denham, who was a friend of Hamilton's, thought he ought to be acquainted with it. So, when he arrived in England, which was soon after, partly from resentment and ill will to Keith and Riddleston then, and partly from good will to him, I waited on him and gave him the letter. He thanked me cordially, the information being of importance to him, and from that time he became my friend, greatly to my advantage afterwards on many occasions. But what shall we think of a governor's playing such pitiful tricks and imposing so grossly on a poor ignorant boy? It was a habit he had acquired. He wished to please everybody, and having little to give, he gave expectations. He was otherwise an ingenious, sensible man, a pretty good writer, and a good governor for the people, though not for his constituents. The proprieties, whose instructions he sometimes disregarded, several of our best laws were of his planning and passed during his administration. Ralph and I were inseparable companions. We took lodgings together in Little Britain at 3 shillings and 6pence a week, as much as we could then afford. He found some relations, but they were poor and unable to assist him. He now let me know his intentions of remaining in London, and that he never meant to return to Philadelphia. He had brought no money with him, the whole he could muster having been expended paying his passage. I had 15 pistols, so he borrowed occasionally of me to subsist while he was looking out for business. He first endeavored to get into the playhouse, believing himself qualified for an actor. But Wilkes, to whom he applied, advised him candidly not to think of that employment, as it was impossible he should succeed in it. Then he proposed to Roberts, a publisher in Paternoster Row, to write for him a weekly paper, like the Spectator, on certain conditions, which Roberts did not approve. Then he endeavored to get employment as a hackney writer, to copy for the stationers and lawyers about the Temple, but could find no vacancy. I immediately got into work at Palmer's, then a famous printing house in Bartholomew Close, and there I continued near a year. I was pretty diligent, but spent with Ralph a good deal of my earnings in going to plays and other places of amusement. We had together consumed all of my pistols, and now just rubbed on from hand to mouth. He seemed quite to forget his wife and child, and I by degrees my engagements with Miss Reed, to whom I never wrote more than one letter, and that was to let her know I was not likely soon to return. That was another of the great errata of my life, which I should wish to correct if I were to live it over again. In fact, by our expenses, I was constantly kept unable to pay my passage. At Palmer's, I was employed in composing for the second edition of Wollaston's Religion of Nature. Some of his reasonings not appearing to me well-founded, I wrote a little metaphysical piece in which I made remarks on them. It was entitled, A Dissension on Liberty and Necessity, Pleasure and Pain. I inscribed it to my friend Ralph. I printed a small number. It occasioned my being more considered by Mr. Palmer as a young man of some intelligence, though he certainly expostulated with me upon the principle which to him appeared abominable. My printing this pamphlet was another erratum. While I lodged in Little Britain, I made acquaintance with one Wilcox, a bookseller, whose shop was at the next door. He had an immense collection of second-hand books. Circulating libraries were not then in use, but we agreed that, on certain reasonable terms, which I have now forgotten, I might take, read, and return any of his books. This I esteemed a great advantage, and I made as much use of it as I could. My pamphlet by some means falling into the hands of one Lyons, a surgeon, author of a book entitled The Infallibility of Human Judgment. He occasioned an acquaintance between us. He took great notice of me, called on me often to converse on the subjects, carried me to the house, a pale alehouse in a lane, Cheapside, and introduced me to Mr. Mandeville, author of The Fable of the Bees, who had clubbed there, of which he was the soul, being a most facetious man, entertaining companion. Lyons, too, introduced me to Dr. Pemberton at Bastion's coffee house, who promised to give me an opportunity sometime or other of seeing Sir Isaac Newton, of which I was extremely desirous, but this never happened. I had brought over a few curiosities, among which the principal was a purse made of the asbestos, which purifies by fire. Sir Hans Sloane heard of it, came to see me, and invited me to his house in Bloomsbury Square, where he showed me all his curiosities, and persuaded me to let him add that to the number, for which he paid me handsomely. In our house there lodged a young woman, a milliner,
Alaska,
I think, had a shop in the cloisters. She had been genteelly bred, was sensible and lively, and of most pleasing conversation. Ralph read plays for her in the evenings. They grew intimate. She took another lodging, and he followed her. They lived together for some time, but he being still out of business, and her income not sufficient to maintain them with her child, he took a resolution of going from London to try for a country school, which he thought himself well qualified to undertake, as he wrote an excellent hand and was a master of arithmetic and accounts. This, however, he deemed a business below him, and confident of future better fortune, and he should be unwilling to have it known that he was once so meanly employed, he changed his name and did me the honor to assume mine, for I soon after had a letter from him acquainting me that he was settled in a small village, in Berkshire I think it was, where he taught reading and writing to 10 or a dozen boys at 6 per week, recommending Mrs. T to my care, and desiring me to write to him, directing for Mr. Franklin, schoolmaster, at such a place. He continued to write frequently, sending me large specimens of an epic poem which he was then composing, and desiring my remarks and corrections. These I gave him from time to time, but endeavored rather to discourage his proceeding. One of Young's satires was just then published. I copied and sent him a great part of it, which set in a strong light the folly of pursuing the muses with any hope of advancement by them. All this was in vain. Sheets of the poem continued to come by every post. In the meantime, Mrs. T, having on his account lost her friends in business, was often in distress, and used to send for me and borrow what I could spare to help her out of them. I grew fond of her company, and being at that time under no religious restraint, and presuming upon my importance to her, I attempted familiarities, another erratum, which she repulsed with a proper resentment, and acquainted him with my behavior. This made a breach between us, and when he returned again to London, he let me know he thought I had cancelled all the obligations he had been under to me, so I found I was never to expect his repaying me what I lent to him, or advanced to him. This, however, was not then of much consequence, as he was totally unable, and in the loss of his friendship I found myself relieved from a burden. I now began to think of getting a little money beforehand, and expecting better work. I left the Palmers to work at Watts, near Lincoln's Inn Fields, a still greater printing house. Here I continued all the rest of my stay in London. At my first admission into this printing house, I took to working at press, imagining I felt a want of the bodily exercise I had been used to in America, where press work is mixed with composing. I drank only water, and the other workmen, near 50 in number, were great guzzlers of beer. On occasion, I carried up and down the stairs a large form of types in each hand, when others carried but one in both hands. They wondered to see, from this and several instances, what the water American, as they called me, was stronger than themselves, who drank strong beer. We had an alehouse boy who attended always in the house to supply the workmen. My companion at the press drank every day a pint before breakfast, a pint at breakfast with his bread and cheese, a pint between breakfast and dinner, a pint at dinner, a pint in the afternoon about 6 o'clock, and another when he had done his day's work. I thought it a detestable custom, but it was necessary, he supposed, to drink strong beer, that he might be strong to labor. I endeavored to convince him that the bodily strength afforded by beer could only be in proportion to the grain or flour of barley dissolved in the water, of which it was more flour in a pennyworth of bread, and therefore, if he would eat that with a pint of water, it would give him more strength than a quart of beer. He drank on, however, and had 4 or 5 shillings to pay out of his wages every Saturday night for that muddling liquor, an expense I was free from, and thus these poor devils kept themselves always under. Watts, after some weeks desiring to have me in the composing room, I left the pressman a new bienvenue, or sum for drink, being 5 shillings, was demanded of me by the compositors. I thought it an imposition, as I had paid below the master thought it too and forbade my paying it. I stood about 2 or 3 weeks, was accordingly considered as an excommunicate, and had so many little pieces of private mischief done me by mixing my sorts, transposing my pages, breaking my matter, etc., etc., if I were ever so little out of the room, and all ascribed to the chapters, which they said ever haunted those not regularly admitted, that notwithstanding the master's protection, I found myself obliged to comply and pay the money, convinced of the folly of being on ill terms with those one is to live with continually. Begin footnote. Franklin now left the work of operating the printing presses, which was largely a matter of manual labor, and began setting type, which required more skill and intelligence. End footnote. I was now on a fair footing with them, and soon acquired considerable influence. I proposed some reasonable alterations in their chapel laws, and carried them against all opposition. From my example, a great part of them left their middling breakfast of beer and bread and cheese, finding they could with me be supplied from a neighboring house with a large porringer of hot water gruel sprinkled with pepper, crumbed with bread, and a bit of butter in it, for the price of a pint of beer, viz. 3 halfpence. This was a more comfortable as well as cheaper breakfast, and keep their heads clearer. Those who continued sotting with beer all day were often, by not paying, out of credit at the alehouse, and used to make interest with me to get beer, their light, as they phrased it, being out. I watched the pay table on Saturday night, and collected what I stood engaged for them, having to pay sometimes near 30 shillings a week on their accounts. Thus, and my being esteemed a pretty good rigite, that is, a jocular verbal satirist, supported my consequence in the society. My constant attendance, I never making a St. Monday, recommended me to the master, and my uncommon quickness at composing, occasioned by being put upon all work of dispatch, which was generally better paid. So I went now very agreeably. Again, footnote, the printing house is called a chapel because Caxton, the first English printer, did his printing in a chapel connected with Westminster Abbey. St. Monday is a holy day taken to prolong the dissipation of Saturday's wages. End of footnotes. My lodging in Little Britain being too remote, I found another in Duke Street opposite the Roman Chapel. It was 2 pair of stairs backwards, at an Italian warehouse. A widow lady kept the house. She had a daughter and a maidservant, and a journeyman who attended the warehouse, but lodged abroad. After sending to inquire my character at the house where I had last lodged, she agreed to take me at the same rate, 3 shillings 6pence per week, cheaper, as she said, from the protection she expected in having a man lodge in the house. She was a widow, an elderly woman, and had been bred a Protestant, being a clergyman's daughter, but was converted to the Catholic religion by her husband, whose memory she much revered, had lived much among people of distinction, and knew 1,000 anecdotes of them as far back as the times of Charles II. She was lame in her knees with the gout, and therefore seldom stirred out of her room, so sometimes wanted company, and hers was so highly amusing to me that I was sure to spend an evening with her whenever she desired it. Our supper was only half an anchovy each, on a very little strip of bread and butter, and half a pint of ale between us, but the entertainment was in her conversation. My always keeping good hours and giving little trouble in the family made her unwilling to part with me, so that when I talked of a lodging I had heard of nearer my business for 2 shillings a week, which meant I was now on saving money, made some difference. She bid me not think of it, for she would abate me 2 shillings a week for the future, so I remained with her at 1 shilling and 6pence as long as I stayed in London. In a garret of her house there lived a maiden lady of 70, in the most retired manner, of which my landlady gave me this account, that she, being a Roman Catholic, had been sent abroad when young, and lodged in a nunnery with the intent of becoming a nun, but the country not agreeing with her, she returned to England, where, there being no nunnery, she had vowed to lead a life of a nun as near as might be done in those circumstances. Accordingly, she had given all her estate to charitable uses, reserving only 12 pounds a year to live on. And out of this sum, she still gave a great deal to charity, living herself on water gruel only, and using no fire but to boil it. She had lived many years in that garret, being permitted to remain there gratis by successive Catholic tenants of the house below, as they deemed it a blessing to have her there. A priest visited her to confess her every day. I have asked her, said my landlady, how she, as she lived, could possibly find so much employment for a confessor. Oh, she said, it is impossible to avoid vain thoughts. I was permitted once to visit her. She was cheerful, polite, and conversed pleasantly. The room was clean, but had no other furniture than a malthus, a table with a crucifix and a book, a stool which she gave me to sit on, and a picture over the chimney of St. Veronica, displaying her handkerchief with the miraculous figure of Christ's bleeding face, which she explained to me with great seriousness. She looked pale, but was never sick, and I gave it as another instance on how small an income, life and health may be supported. At Watt's printing house, I contracted an acquaintance with a genius young man, one Whitegate, who, having healthy relations, had been better educated than most printers, was a tolerable Latinist, spoke French, and loved reading. I taught him and a friend of his to swim, and twice going into the river, and they soon became good swimmers. They introduced me to some gentlemen from the country who went to Chelsea by water to see the college and Don Zapero's curiosities. In our return, at the request of the company whose curiosity Whitegate had excited, I stripped and leapt into the river and swam from near Chelsea to Blackfriars, performing on the way many feats of activity, both upon and underwater, that surprised and pleased those to whom they were novelties. Begin footnote. The story is that she met Christ on his way to crucifixion and offered him her handkerchief to wipe the blood from his face, after which the handkerchief always wore the image of Christ's bleeding face. James Salter, a former servant of Hans Sloane, lived in Cheyne Walk, Chelsea. His house, a barber shop, was known as Don Salarto's coffee house. The curiosities were in glass cases and constituted an amazing motley collection: a petrified crab from China, a liquefied hog, Job's tears, Madagascar lances, William the Conqueror's flaming sword, and Henry VIII's coat of mail. The swim was of about 3 miles. End of footnote. I had from a child been ever delighted in this exercise, had studied and practiced all Trebner's motions and positions, added some of my own, aiming at the graceful and easy as well as the useful. All these I took this occasion of exhibiting to the company, and was much flattered by their admiration. And Whitegate, who was desirous of becoming a master, grew more and more attached to me on that account, as well as from the similarity of our studies. He at length proposed to be traveling all over Europe together, supporting ourselves everywhere by working at our business. I was once inclined to it, but mentioned it to my good friend Mr. Denham, with whom I often spent an hour when I had leisure. He dissuaded me from it, advising me to think only of returning to Pennsylvania, which he was now about to do. I must record one trait of this good man's character. He had formerly been in business at Bristol, but failed in debt to a number of people, compounded and went to America. There, by a close application to business as a merchant, he acquired a plentiful fortune. In a few years, returning to England in the ship with me, he invited his old creditors to an entertainment at which he thanked them for the easy composition they had favored with him, and when they expected nothing but the treat, every man at the first remove found under his plate an order on a banker for the full amount of the unpaid remainder with interest. He now told me he was about to return to Philadelphia and should carry over a great quantity of goods in order to open a store there. He proposed to take me over as his clerk, to keep his books, in which he instructed me, copy his letters, and attend the store. He added that as soon as I should be acquainted with mercantile business.
Gotta sleep
He
at
would
some
promote
point.
me by sending me with a cargo of flour and bread, etc., to the West Indies, and procure me commission from others, which would be profitable, and if I managed well, would establish me handsomely. The thing pleased me, for I was grown tired of London, remembering with pleasure the happy months I had spent in Pennsylvania, and wished again to see it. Therefore, I immediately agreed on the terms of £50 a year, about $167, Pennsylvania money, less indeed than my present gettings as a compositor, but affording a better prospect. I took leave of printing as though forever, and was daily employed in the new business, going about it with Mr. Denham among the tradesmen to purchase various articles and seeing them packed up, doing errands, calling upon workmen to dispatch, etc. And when all was on board, I had a few days' leisure. On one of these days I was, to my surprise, sent for by a great man I knew only by name, a Sir William Wyndham, and I waited upon him. He had heard by some means or other of my swimming from Chelsea to Blackfriars, and my teaching Wygate and another young man to swim in a few hours. He had 2 sons about to set out on their travels. He wished to have them first taught swimming, and proposed to gratify me handsomely if I would teach them. They were not yet come to town, and my stay was uncertain, so I could not undertake it. But from this incident, I thought it likely that if I were to remain in England and open a swimming
I'm not from Greece. You're
I
from
might
Greece.
get a good deal of money, and it struck me so strongly that the overture scene sooner made me. Perhaps I should not so soon have returned to America. After many years, you and I had something of more importance to do with one of these sons of Sir William Wyndham, become Earl of Edmund, which I shall mention in its place. Thus, I spent about 18 months in London.
What's a MAGA supporter look like?
I worked hard at my business.
Hi, Zara.
And spent but little upon myself, except in seeing plays and in books. My friend Ralph had kept me poor. He owed me about £27, which I was now never likely to receive, a great sum out of my small earnings. I loved him, notwithstanding, for he had many admirable qualities. I had by no means improved my fortune, but I had picked up some very ingenious acquaintance, whose conversation was of great advantage to me, and I had read it considerably. End of chapter 6. The Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, Chapter 7. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, edited by Frank Woodworth Pine, Chapter 7. Beginning business in Philadelphia. We sailed from Gravesend on the 23rd of July, 1726. For the incidents of the voyage, I refer you to my journal. We will find them all minutely related. Perhaps the most important part of that journal is the plan to be found in it, which I formed at sea for regulating my future conduct in life. It is the more remarkable as being formed when I was so young, and yet being pretty faithfully adhered to quite through to old age. Footnote. The journal is not found in the manuscript journal, which was left among Franklin's papers. End of footnote. We landed in Philadelphia on the 11th of October, where I found sundry alterations. Keith was no longer governor, being superseded by Mayor Horton. I met him walking the streets as a common citizen. He seemed a little ashamed at seeing me, but passed without saying anything. I should have been as much ashamed at seeing Miss Reed had not her friends, despairing with reason of my return after the receipt of my letter, persuaded her to marry another, one Rogers, Potter, which was done in my absence. With him, however, she was never happy, and soon parted from him, refusing to cohabit with him or bear his name, it being now said that he had another wife. He was a worthless fellow, though an excellent husband.
We've got an hour left.
A temptation to her friends. She got into debt, ran away in 1727 or 1728, went to the West Indies and died there. Keimer had got a better house, a shop well supplied with stationery, plenty of new types, a number of hands, though none good, and seemed to have a great deal of business. Mr. Denham took a store in Water Street, where we opened our goods. I attended the business diligently, studied accounts, and grew in a little time expert at selling. We lodged and boarded together. He counseled me, as a father having a sincere regard for me. I respected and loved him, and we might have gone on together very happy. But in the beginning of February, 1727, when I had just passed my 21st year, we both were taken ill. My distemper was a pleurisy, which very nearly carried me off. I suffered a good deal, gave up the point in my own mind, and was rather disappointed when I found myself recovering, regretting in some degree that I must now sometime or other have all that disagreeable work to do over again. I forgot what his distemper was. It held him a long time, and at length carried him off. He left me a small legacy in an incorporative will, as a token for his kindness for me, and he left me once more to the wide world, for the store was taken into the care of his executors, and my employment under him ended. My brother-in-law, Holmes, being now in Philadelphia, advised my return to my business, and Keimer tempted me with an offer of large wages by the year to come and take the management of his printing house, that he might better attend the stationer's shop. I had heard a bad character of him in London from his wife and her friends, and was not fond of having anything to do with him. I tried for further employment as a merchant's clerk, but not readily meeting with any, I closed again with Keimer. I found in his house these hands: Hugh Meredith, a Welshman from Pennsylvania, 30 years of age, bred to country work, honest, sensible, had a great deal of solid observation, was something of a reader, but given to drink. Stephen Potts, a young countryman of full age, bred to the same, of uncommon natural parts, in great wit and humor, but a little idle. These he had agreed with at extreme low wages per week, to be raised a shilling every 3 months, as they would deserve by improving in their business, and the expectation of these high wages to come on hereafter was what he had been in with. Meredith was to work at Bradford Potts and Mike,
saw everything.
to teach them, though he knew
My
neither
first
one
taste
nor
of
other.
love.
John, wild Irishman,
Bittersweet.
to no
Hi,
business,
atheist.
whose service for 4 years Keimer had purchased from the captain of
Green
the ship.
on the vine.
He too was to press
Strawberry wine.
Scott, whose time for 4 years he had likewise bought, intending him for a
It's
composite,
only shaking.
of whom more presently, and David Harry, country boy, whom he had taken apprentice.
Thank
As
God
he
I'm a
perceived
country
that the
boy.
intention of engaging me in wages so much higher than he had been used to give was to have these raw and cheap hands formed through me, and as soon as I had instructed them, then they being all articles to him, he should
Why
be
am I
able to
so
do without me. I went on, however,
weird that I
very
am?
cheerfully, put his printing house in order, which had reached
Oh,
great
whoa, 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 whoa,
and
whoa,
brought
whoa.
his hands by degree to mind their business and to do it better. It
What are you
was
doing?
an
What are you
odd
doing?
thing to find an Oxford scholar in the situation of a bought servant, who was not more than 18 years of age, and gave me this account of himself: that he was born in Gloucester, educated at grammar school there, had been distinguished among the scholars for some apparent superiority in performing his part when they exhibited plays, belonged to the witty club there, and had written some pieces of prose and verse, which were printed in the Gloucester newspaper. Thence he was sent to Oxford, where he continued about a year, but not well satisfied, wishing of all things to see London, and become a player. At length, receiving his quarterly allowance of 15 guineas, instead of discharging his debts, he walked out of town, hid his gown in a fruit bush, and footed it to London, where, having no friend to advise him, he fell into bad company, soon spent his guineas, found no means of being introduced among the players, grew necessitous, pawned his clothes, and wanted bread. Walking the street very hungry and not knowing what to do with himself,
As I walked
a
through
crimp's
the valley
bill
of the
was
shadow
put
of
into
death.
his hand. Again, footnote. A crimp was the agent of a shipping company, crimps were sometimes employed to decoy men into such a service as is here mentioned. End of footnote. Offering immediate entertainment and encouragement to such as would bind themselves to serve America, he went directly, signed the indenture, was put into the ship, and came over, never writing a line to acquaint his friends what was become of him. He was lively, witty, good-natured, and a pleasant companion, but idle, thoughtless, and imprudent to the last degree. John the Irishman soon ran away. With the rest I began to live very agreeably, for they all respected me more, as they found Keimer incapable of instructing them, and that from me they learned something daily. We never worked on Saturday, that being Keimer's Sabbath, so I had 2 days for reading. My acquaintance with the ingenious people in the town increased. Keimer himself treated me with great civility.
Big Doug, you're on Candid Camera. You're on what do we call it? You're on YouTube Live.
What's your schedule like for Saturday?
Oh yeah, Mark and Mitchell are coming in. Just so you know.
Are they?
Yeah, they're apparently the Cyclones are playing at Arrowhead on Saturday.
What?
And
so they're going to be spending the night there too?
Yep, they're at Harrah's, the casino that Mark likes.
Oh, but they're not staying with you.
If there's a casino, Mark's staying.
Yeah.
That's the rule, buddy.
Yeah.
But we are all going to the casino
for them,
we're going to the casino for free breakfast.
Okay, and when's that?
Well, we're gonna have to go early because Mark always refuses to eat the free breakfast, and instead seems to always want to go out for breakfast. But that's the only thing I can be assured of. Rebecca is not quite ready to see them because she's afraid they're gonna be gloating over their victory, which she's not ready to accept yet, I don't think. She's not as relaxed about the election results as I am.
Oh.
You know what I mean, Jelly Bean?
Well, yeah, why isn't she coming to the...
Coming to the what?
Why isn't she coming to this vigil in the morning tonight?
Oh, yeah, no, she needs to be coming to the vigil in the morning. Why am I not driving a Honda Pilot? That's what I need to be driving. Do you think I could get away with having a Pilot instead of a CRV?
The new Toyota Priuses.
Say it again, Cowboy?
I think you should get one of the new Toyota Priuses.
No, they're not big enough.
The dogs?
What's that?
Oh, the dogs?
No. You know, I always got those poles in my car. You know? You know the poles that I use?
And the poles are too long for a Toyota Prius. Because here's the thing.
I don't know, they're just in the way. Everything's in the way.
They get insane gas mileage.
What's that?
They get insane gas mileage, dude.
Alright, hold on. Say that again, Cowboy.
They get insane gas mileage, dude.
Well, yeah, that's great. What is it, like, isn't it a lot, like 60 miles a gallon or something? Look, that's all well and good. But I think a Toyota Highlander or a Honda Pilot would be badass, you know? Don't you think it would be badass?
Yeah.
Or but would it be too big to the point of being gaudy, you know? I don't want to be too big, you know? Goddamn, fuck shit. Why is there traffic? No traffic. Can we not have
I
traffic?
think when you choose a vehicle, since you drive so much, it should be purely based on economy.
No, you can't just factor in economy. You also have to factor in the look of it. Like, it has to look professional, but not too flashy, is what I've decided.
Yeah, the new Toyota Priuses are exactly that.
Well, here's the other thing. Like, a Prius kind of says something about you. It's like you're advertising something politically.
Yeah, except the new Priuses aren't distinctive enough.
Oh, they look pretty. You know, like, I don't want to do a pickup truck for the same reason, but on the other opposite end of the spectrum, you know? I want to look like the kind of guy who, if you like me, you could say, oh yeah, I could see him driving a Prius, or oh yeah, I could see him driving the pickup truck with balls on it. You know, just depending on your persuasion. But see, the thing about having like a Honda Pilot is like, ooh, how spacious, you know what I mean? Ooh, you know what I mean?
The dogs.
Yeah, the dogs and everything. But this car has to last me 7 years.
That you're currently driving?
Yeah.
Why specifically that?
That's how long my note is on it.
It has brand spanking new transmission in it, doesn't it?
It does have a brand spanking new transmission.
It's one of the big things.
As of 20,000 miles ago. You know, you know how it is. It's having this new problem where it doesn't want to start quite as readily. They try to.
Hasn't that been going on for a while? That's going to get worse with weather.
We'll see what the thing of it is. It just depends what the thing of it is. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, hopefully one day it will go wrong and then you can just get out of having to do work for a day.
Yeah, that'd be badass, wouldn't it? I need some truck balls on a Prius. Do people put truck balls on Priuses?
Why the fuck not?
Do you sometimes polish the duck when driving and horny? Who calls it that? Polish the duck? Have you ever heard that?
Yanking the chain, choking the hog.
Polish the duck?
Skinning the snake. The chicken.
Polish the duck. Why is there traffic? I hate traffic. Traffic should not be legal. I wish they would outlaw traffic.
I hear you, brother. Hey, Greg, should I go on a hike right now, or should I take a nap?
Well, what else you got going on today?
I've got to go more on the election.
Well, yeah, you do got to do that. I like that Bernie Sanders was like, yeah, this is the Democrats' fault. Like, yeah, no shit. Like, all these people who are like on Facebook, if you voted for Trump, you can eat shit and die. Don't ever talk to me again and block me on all social media. I just don't think that's winning. I think it emboldens the Trumpers.
Well, yeah, also, it's not doing them any favors in pointing out that, like, people who vote for Trump are asocial.
Yeah, it's just really, I just find it really immature.
It's just like, actually believing it. That's what.
Thanks, though. Oh my god, I hate traffic. No more traffic. No more traffic. No more traffic. Please, no more traffic. Please, no more traffic. Please, no more traffic. Please. Please, no more traffic. Please, no more traffic. Please, no more traffic. Please. Please, no more traffic. Please, no more traffic. Please, no more traffic. Please. Please, no more traffic. Please, no more traffic. Please, no more traffic. Please. Please, please, please.
All right, Greg, let's knock out a plan. What are you doing on Saturday?
I don't know.
Are you working?
Yep.
Okay, and you don't have your schedule yet?
I'll get my schedule for Saturday probably by 8 o'clock p.m. by 8 p.m. Friday.
Cool. So you'll call and let me know that.
Mm-hmm.
But likely you're going to be working until what? 9?
Yeah, I'd say 40% chance or better I'll be working till 9.
Sunday, we're eating breakfast.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hurrahs.
Harrah's, yeah. Yeah, except we got to get there early because Mark's going to be like, oh no. Blah, 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 blah.
We have to get that before him, and then what?
Yeah, because we'll want to go out to eat somewhere for breakfast.
Okay, and are we also going out to eat for breakfast?
Well, yeah, we got to accompany them, right?
So we're getting free breakfast and we're going out to eat.
Well, yeah. to be polite.
Uh-huh.
Why is there so much traffic? This is bullshit. I don't like traffic.
Okay, and then do we have any other plans for Sunday?
No. I don't think so.
Okay.
We gotta walk the dogs in the woods.
So, at some point, we gotta walk those dogs.
Yep. Gotta walk the extra long woozy dogs.
We gotta get Greg a shooting game.
Thanks, though. Thanks, though.
Thanks, though.
Thanks,
Thanks,
though.
though.
Thanks, though.
Thanks, though.
Okay. Now, a Toyota 4Runner, way too douchey of a car, obviously, right?
Sure.
Okay, some of the older models are not so douchey, but this new model I just drove by, very obviously douchey.
Sure.
Although right now I'm driving by someone with a macaroni orange Bronco. Jesus wept. Why is there so much traffic? I didn't vote for this. I did not vote for this. Do you understand? I definitely don't want a Murano.
But when are you buying this car?
I don't know, 5 years maybe.
Then why are you even thinking about it right now?
I don't know. My car's getting old.
Well, it's not getting old, it's getting beat to death.
Yeah, I suppose so. Where are we going to eat at, big fella? We're not eating. We chew gum. I am Japanese. Konnichiwa. Holy shit. Why is there so much traffic? I did not vote for this. Seriously, do you think I voted for this? Because I freaking didn't.
Alright, so I'm just gonna say Skyrable.
Well, you got to take the dogs on an extra long cozy walk. Think so?
I'm more about like Monday.
Yeah.
What's the best place for me to like hike or walk when I'm there?
Oh, besides the dogwoods? There's the Little Blue Trace, which I think is by... I think there's an access point near the Stony Creek, which has free breakfast. That's cozy. Thanks, though. Tyler asks, how's it hanging, dude? We're working. Working like a dog.
Yeah, your pictures back from Brittany?
Nope.
What's the timeline on that?
He said within 60 days.
Alright. There you go.
Thanks. What do? I'm a salesperson.
What?
Someone asked what I do. Yes, these dogs, they are so cozy. Yes, these dogs, they are so cozy. Yes, these dogs, they are so cozy. Yes, these dogs are cozy. They are so cozy. It would be really badass to have a justifiable need for a Ford Transit. Wouldn't that be badass? But hell yeah, I'm just moving some shit.
Yeah. That is something.
Trump, okay? Question mark? Why am I in the exit only lane? Oh, why do I have to get behind this GMC Yukon? Alright, good. Get out of here. Freaking big ass lifted Ford 350 limited. They don't even have a license plate. How do they get away with not having a license plate? I don't get it. What? Was I not... Was this an exit? Oh my god. I didn't... I just wish you could just stop at a Wendy's and eat it at that Wendy's anytime you wanted. Without
Why you like?
well, just without the negative consequences, like the cost, the time, the the ill health effects. I mean, like, take away the negative consequences, and it really changes it. You know what I mean? Can I have a shout out? Janet Walls, I shout you out. I shout you out. Janet Walls. Oh man, I am so tired. What the fuck? Why am I holding an iPad? Remember when iPads were like a cool thing and not just like some bullshit tool for work?
Sure.
Remember, you'd think iPad and you'd be like, ooh, ah. And now it's like, oh, yep. That's my work computer. Don't you miss the ooh, ah days? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Those Canaan days we used to know, where have they gone? Where did they go? Those Canaan days we used to know. Those Canaan days we used to know, where have they gone? Where did they go? Those Canaan days. Those Canaan days we used to know. Come on.
Come on.
You know what is badass about my job?
What?
Sometimes I get to stay in a hotel. Hey, we can be friends.
Yeah, I actually prefer sleeping in a hotel than your home.
Well, every so often, yeah, it's kind of special. It's like, ooh, la-ti-da, la-ti-da. It's actually like, hell yeah. I am kind of cool, actually.
Oh my gosh, shit, these blankets are white.
Yeah, it was cool.
Holy shit. What is this, the Ritz?
Those Canaan days we used to know, where have they gone? Where did they go? Those Canaan days. Those Canaan days, have they gone? Where have they gone? Where did they go? Those Canaan days. Those Canaan days we used to know. Where have they gone? Where did they go? Hello, hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello. You say yes, and I say no. You say stop, and I say go, go, go. Oh no. You say goodbye, and I say hello, hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello. I think they're gonna need more sales. I have no idea. You have no idea. You know, like every sale feels like a miracle. Do you know that?
Sure, buddy.
It's like, holy shit, how did that happen?
Holy shit. How the fuck did I get people to drop this much money on this shit?
Like,
What the fuck?
well, it's just like there's just so many things that can go wrong. Do you understand?
Uh-huh.
Do you know how many things can go wrong? No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't know. You don't know. But then the last two sales I got, they were both like just good people. So it's like, did I just get the sales just because they're, you know, good, nice people? Like, you get a little more sense of victory when you sell to an asshole. Because you know you had to fucking fight for that. You had to fucking fight. You had to fucking fight. So what? I got my rock moves. So what? Now that you're done. We're all gonna get in a fight. So what? I got my rock moves. And that done. And now that we're done, I'm gonna get in a fight. I'm gonna get in a fight. In a fight. It's alright. Something about Jessica Sims. Christmas is coming soon, says Clea. Yep. Christmas time is coming soon. Christmas is coming soon. I'm gonna get in a fight. We're all gonna get in a fight. I love you, man. Thank you. Funsky40. Funsky. We're all gonna get in a fight. We're all gonna get in a fight. So what? I've got my rock moves. I don't need you tonight. But guess what? Well, now that we're done, I'm having more fun. They gave me 2 bottles of wine today.
Pretty badass.
I know. It's amazing. choke cherry wine and corn cob wine. Who is the best rapper? Am I supposed to say Diddy? Is that the answer? Hey, did you know you can make wine out of corn cobs?
I suppose so. It makes sense. But, would it be wine and not the mead?
No, the cobs of the corn, not the corn kernels,
Yeah.
but the cobs.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be like a mead, it would be a wine.
It tastes like a white wine, dude. And I know it's not a mead because they said they make other things that are mead.
Okay. Well, is that badass cool?
I mean, corn cobs are usually just garbage. They're like, nope, thanks,
Yeah.
so we're gonna make wine out of them. Thanks, though. They said, thanks, so.
Yeah. Gives some hope for the rest of us, right?
Whoa, that's a big. What is that? A church or a hospital? No. Or maybe it's a university. I don't know. Clea says Eminem is for sure the GOAT. Is your car an EV? No, my car is not an EV. Watch me whip. Watch me nay-nay. Oh my god, why is there so much traffic? I feel like I've been in traffic for like a million years now.
Where even are you?
Lee Summit right now. Yeah, so I ain't far.
Are you?
I was far.
Are you on the way to
An appointment?
an
Yeah,
appointment?
that's right. Yeah. I'm on my way to my 3 o'clock. Yep.
Greg, you are aware that we did the whole falling back thing, right?
Yep. It is what it is. Trust me, I know, because I had flipped it around in my head about how it was going to affect the sunlight. I got confused somehow. When are you buying an electric vehicle? You can afford it. Well, I'd say the most annoying thing about electric vehicles for me would be I drive so much that it's the recharge time is the big problem. The recharge and the infrastructure for it. Like an electric vehicle for Rebecca would make sense.
Yeah, I think you'd be better off with a hybrid.
Yeah, like a plug-in hybrid, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, which is why I was suggesting you consider the new Prius.
Oh, is it a plug-in hybrid?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got like 40 miles of, electric run time. And then it's like, with the gas tank.
So what? I'm having more fun. now that we're done, I don't need you tonight. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Why is there so much traffic?
Oh, there's traffic.
You know, never believe it's not so. Oh, Zempic.
Please get the fuck off the road. It's traffic.
And I gotta pee.
So bad.
Hi, Atrox. Yes, I gotta pee so bad. You have no idea. Where does traffic even come from?
Yeah, I don't know if I've even ever felt the urge to pee.
Yeah, not like I have.
Not like Greg. Greg, I'm really worried for your emotional well-being if you don't properly mourn this election with midnight at the service.
Oh, Zempic. You know. Well, I'm trying to look on the bright side and hope that the fucking Democrats learn their lesson this time.
They won't. That's what we say every time. They never do.
Yeah, you're right. They never do.
Like, if you think about it, Trump was the never again election. Like, that was supposed to be the moment.
Yeah, it kind of was, wasn't it? You know, in retrospect, now that she's lost the election, she is actually kind of weird and cringy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, she's rap, and it's so cool. But who the fuck did they think they were gonna fool with that?
Yeah, it's just too niche, is what it is. They don't. Joe says true. Like, thank you, Bernie Sanders, for coming out and saying, you abandoned the working class, and so you cannot be surprised. You know?
True.
He's gonna bring back the mittens.
You know, this kind of vindicates that union guy rep from UPS speaking at the RNC.
Oh yeah? Why? What did he say at the RNC?
Well, he basically gave this, like, you know, pro-workers' rights speech to the RNC, which people were criticizing him for doing it. Because, you know, of how at odds the Republican Party is with workers' rights. But it's like, you know, do you want to give that speech to the people that are in power, maybe sway a few people, or do you want to just waste your fucking time at the DNC and give the speech to the losers who will never have power in any meaningful way?
It does make sense.
And when they did have power in a meaningful way, they squandered it away and did nothing but Obamacare, which is like Just fucking not enough.
It is definitely not
Nobody's
enough.
like, yeah, nobody's like Obamacare. That's the thing. That was worth it all. Because we got that. It's just like, well, it's a thing.
It kind of felt just like them putting the wooden spoon on the pot to stop it from boiling over.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Israel, big dog?
My thoughts on Israel? I think they should stop doing genocide and trying to invade their neighbors. I think that's bad.
You're giving them the finger wag.
Yeah. Like, hey, please stop that because no one's gonna make you. But you shouldn't need people to make you stop doing bad things. You should just be aware that they're bad and not do them.
Yeah, Atrix asks you no, and then I don't know how to speak English. Can you please answer yes or no? I'm translating using Google Translate. Yes, I guess. Cola says Israel is right act. Why is there so much traffic? I'm sick of this bullshit. Oh, actually, Cola says Israel is right, actually.
Oh.
That's what
Well, in
Cola...
that case, disregard everything I've ever said on the topic.
Well, that's how they get you.
Uh-huh.
When Cola chimes in. How long's Netanyahu been in power?
Who fucking knows? Not me.
Oh, Ozempic. Oh, you know. Do the thing. What thing? What thing? What thing? Never believe it's not. Oh, Ozempic. Why is there so much traffic? All this freaking Bedford Downs, building lot 70. It is indeed quiet, and it was quiet. Did I say? Yes. I'm gonna pull in this field pea. That's what I'm gonna do. This is all 50 pairs being used to slow. You're in an E46. What is an E46? Gonna try to pee here. A little more public than I was considering it was gonna. You know what I mean? So I gotta wait for some.
Killing more than 20,000 children is bad.
Yeah, there's a hard limit at 20,000. Come on, thanks though. Come on, thanks though. Alright, so thanks though. Alright, so go. Where the frick am I going? What am I freaking doing? See, the thing I don't like about work is the hard parts. Like, you take away all the bullshit, and it's, like, actually not too bad.
Yeah, if you could, like, teleport to these locations.
Well, could I teleport my whole car is the question. Because that's what I prefer to do. Teleport, like, a mile away.
Sure.
As long as the teleporting...
Sure.
You get... Like, I'm not trying to alarm anyone or be the weird teleporting guy. You know, I don't want that to be, like, a thing.